Good day, everybody. It's Andrew here, and welcome back to my channel. We have a huge update on the next stimulus package and news that the $2,000 stimulus check petition is about to cross 3 million votes, and Democrats in Congress have taken notice. So, what does this mean for the stimulus package, and where do negotiations stand today? Well, let's discuss the details in this video, but before we do, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. I also have a second channel, so do me a huge favor. Click on the link that's in the description of this video. Subscribe to my second channel. I'm going to be giving away a stimulus check on that channel just as a thank you for supporting my work. Okay, so if you follow my channel, you know that Democrats are trying to get a stimulus check for seniors. Bernie Sanders proposed this to help pay for medical expenses until Medicare is fully expanded, and people have proposed anywhere between $800 and $1,400 for this stimulus check for seniors. Well, at the same time, over the last 18 months, we've had this petition for American citizens to sign for $2,000 monthly stimulus checks. At this point, you've probably heard about this petition. It's been all over the news, it's been trending, and now we're about to cross 3 million votes, and Democrats in Congress have taken notice. So some liberal Democrats in Congress are saying, you know what? Maybe we need to consider doing the $2,000 stimulus check. So this is something that they have recently acknowledged, because for the longest time, all they've talked about is the monthly stimulus checks for families, and then now, just recently, the one-time stimulus check for people on Social Security benefits, that senior stimulus check that Bernie Sanders proposed. Well, now that this $2,000 stimulus check petition is about to cross 3 million votes, they've actually acknowledged the fact that this petition exists, and they said this is something they might have to keep in mind as they're putting together these stimulus packages and as they put together the stimulus package in 2022. So really, really good news. The fact that they acknowledge this petition and they've acknowledged the fact that millions of American people want this $2,000 stimulus check. Now, will it end up in this current stimulus package? We're not sure. We'll have to wait and see. But one thing we do know is that Democrats have acknowledged that passing stimulus checks helps win elections. And we've talked about this multiple times on my channel. The Georgia Senate runoff elections in January were in large part won by Democrats because they promised a third stimulus check. The election in California for governorship, which Governor Newsom just won re-election for, was in large part won because Governor Newsom approved a fourth and even a fifth stimulus check in California. Well, we've had Democrats talk about doing another stimulus check to help them win the re-elections in 2022, at which point both the House and the Senate chambers will have seats up for re-election. And Democrats have floated the idea of doing another stimulus package and potentially another stimulus check in 2022 to help them win those seats in both chambers. Well, today we have another election in Virginia. The governor's race is happening today, and that race is essentially tied as far as the polls. So Democrats are thinking, hey, this election in Virginia today is going to be a really good gauge as to what we need to do with stimulus going forward, because the American people, in large part, are frustrated that the government has not approved another stimulus check. We've been waiting 6 months, right? Well, because of this, it's looking like President Biden is doing poorly in the polls, and Virginia, which was supposed to be more of a lock for Democrats, is now in about a dead tie with the Republicans in this race for governorship. So, basically, we're in a place where Democrats have taken over 6 months and still haven't approved the stimulus check. So, if they lose this governorship seat in Virginia, it's going to be a signal to Democrats like, hey, we need to get our act together and approve more stimulus. Otherwise, this is not going to bode well for those re-elections in 2022 or potentially President Biden's re-election in 2024. So this election tonight is going to have a huge impact on what happens with the current stimulus package and the stimulus package in 2022. Now, of course, we have Joe Manchin, who is worried about doing a large stimulus package due to his concerns of inflation, the overall cost of the stimulus package. But then we have people who are calling him out as being a hypocrite because he was willing to approve the physical stimulus plan. The physical stimulus plan still has not been fully signed into law, but they did approve it in the Senate, and Joe Manchin voted to approve that bill, and that is going to add over $200 billion to the debt. adding billions of dollars to the deficit. So he says he doesn't want to increase the deficit by approving more stimulus checks, but he's okay with the physical stimulus plan because it directly benefits him in his home state, which is going to help him get reelected, right? So obviously, Joe Manchin is being a hypocrite. Then we have Jayapal, who recently conceded and said that she would vote to approve the physical stimulus plan as long as the stimulus check plan gets approved in the next few weeks. Now, previously, up until last night, she was saying that she would not approve the physical stimulus plan until Joe Manchin approved the stimulus check plan in the Senate, basically playing a game of chicken with each other. And it looks like she is going to concede, and most likely we're going to get that physical stimulus plan approved this week. But, of course, we'll have to wait and see. And then we're putting our faith in President Biden to get Joe Manchin on board in the next couple of weeks to get the stimulus check package done before Thanksgiving. Now, this clip does a really good job of explaining the fact that Democrats are using this Virginia governorship election as a gauge to see whether or not more stimulus checks are needed in regards to helping them win these elections. What is going to happen with Joe Manchin? The fact that he's being a hypocrite and is okay with more debt when it comes to the physical stimulus plan, but not the stimulus check plan, and the fact that Representative Jayapal, who is the Democratic representative from Washington, is now conceding and seems to be okay with approving the physical stimulus plan now before the stimulus check plan is fully approved. So let's quickly take a look and watch this clip, which summarizes everything that's going on.
Millions of people set to go to the polls across the country tomorrow. Millions of early votes are already in. And what we're learning in a matter of hours will tell us a lot about what we're going to expect in the midterms and beyond, 2022, 2024, and beyond, really. What may be the most edge-of-your-seat race is in Virginia. That's where the Democrat there, Terry McAuliffe, and the Republican, Glenn Youngkin, are battling for every last vote in their race for the governor's mansion. On Capitol Hill tonight, Democrats getting closer to votes this week on both bills topping President Joe Biden's agenda. Now, both bills, okay, despite Joe Manchin saying that he won't support the social spending bill without what he called greater clarity about its impact on inflation and the economy.
For the sake of the country, I urge the House to vote and pass the bipartisan infrastructure bill. Holding this bill hostage is not going to work in getting my support for reconciliation bill. I, for one, won't support a multi-trillion-dollar bill without greater clarity about why Congress chooses to ignore the serious effects of inflation and debt that have on our economy and existing government programs. As more of the real details outlined in the basic framework are released, what I see are shell games, budget gimmicks that make the real cost of the so-called $1.75 trillion bill estimated to be almost twice that amount if the full time is run out, if you extended it permanently.
Okay, so let's talk about this. A source telling CNN that Manchin didn't want to get jammed into supporting something that he wasn't ready to endorse. Another source telling CNN that House Democratic leaders could move as soon as Wednesday night or Thursday to put both the social spending and the infrastructure bills on the floor for a final vote or for final votes. Now, there's still a possibility that timing could change, but things sure sound like they are moving forward. I want you to just listen. This is Pramila Jayapal today.
I think that we are ready, pending some final negotiations on things we care very much about, immigration and prescription drug pricing. We know senators are still negotiating that, some details on child care. But those are the last pieces. And once we have those, we will be happy to vote both those bills, both the infrastructure bill and the Build Back Better bill, through the House. And I'm hoping that can happen as soon as tomorrow or the next day. We are ready to get this transformational change to people.
That is a big concession from the Congresswoman. She's ready to vote on both bills and to trust President Biden to get Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema on board. But when it comes to trust, there's not a whole lot of it coming from, honestly, from Joe Manchin. Because when I said let's talk about it, I just want to put some more substance in it besides just the sound bites. He talks about inflation. He talks about shell games and budget gimmicks. But is he right? Is he being fair? Okay, well, consider this. Senator Joe Manchin is not ready to support the social spending bill, But he is fine with the infrastructure bill, even though that added more than $250 billion to the deficit. Senator Bernie Sanders pushing back at Manchin, pointing out the Congressional Budget Office estimated the infrastructure bill would add $256 billion to deficits over the next decade. But Joe Manchin didn't want to talk about that tonight.
Senator, the infrastructure bill you supported added $250 billion to the deficit, according to CBO. So how do you square that with your comments today about the concerns about the debt and deficit of the Build Back Better bill?
Okay, that is a good question, right? He's fine with adding to the deficit for infrastructure, just not for social spending. You know, spending on universal preschool, affordable child care, elder care, care for Americans with disabilities. This is what's in there. An expanded child tax credit, a sweeping plan to combat the climate crisis. Exactly the kinds of things the president was elected to do as a Democrat. Things that could make life better for every American. And Manchin's concerns about inflation, the White House saying that 17 Nobel Prize winning economists have said the bill will reduce inflation. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi pointing out that Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says that the plan will boost the economy, which tends to push inflation down, not up. Manchin says he needs more time to consider the social spending bill. But the House Ways and Means Committee Chair Richard Neal isn't buying that. Watch.
I don't know how you can make the argument of slowing down a piece of legislation that has been out there for more than 2.5 months from the Ways and Means Committee. The argument that you don't know what's in the bill at this stage, I could do it in verse and rhyme.
Yeah. So if both bills pass the House, it's going to be cards on the table for Joe Manchin. Congresswoman Cori Bush on fire tonight saying that Joe Manchin does not get to dictate the future of our country. But while his party is still squabbling over his agenda that includes that massive investment in fighting the climate crisis, President Joe Biden, in an extraordinary moment at the UN Climate Summit, apologized for the United States walking away from the Paris Climate Accord.